Khan Academy, divide fractions, subtopic divide fractions and whole numbers word problems. Jamie is painting her house. Each room takes half a liter of paint. If Jamie has 3 liters of paint, how many rooms can she paint? So we're taking those 3 liters and we're dividing them into sections of a half, and that will tell us how many rooms she's able to paint. So we can think about our 3 liters of paint, 1, 2, 3, and if we divide them each into half, that would give us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Or perhaps you already remember that 3 divided by a half is 6. So 6 is our answer. Lisa has 1/3 of an hour to read and watch television. She wants to split her time equally between the 2 activities. So in this case, she's taking that 1/3 of an hour and she's dividing it by 2 activities. So in this case, we need to think about our whole, and we need to think she only has 1/3. So remember, I shaded in 1/3, and then we're dividing that in 2 sections. So she would have this section to work on reading and this section to watch television. So each of those would be 1 out of a total of 6. So 1 divided by 6. Leah decided to paint some of the rooms at her 51-room hotel. She needs 1/5 of a can of paint per room. If Leah had 6 cans of paint, how many rooms can she paint? So in this case, they gave us the 51-room hotel, which is going to throw some people off because we don't need to know about the 51 rooms. What we want to know is that if she has 6 cans of paint and she divides it into sections of 1/5, how many rooms is she going to be able to paint? How many groups of 1/5 is she going to be able to get? So if we wanted to draw the picture, we could. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we can split these each into 5 sections. I'm just going to draw 5 sections, 5 sections, 5 sections, 5 sections. So instead of drawing out all my lines, I'm just writing out a 5 here. So how many sections would that give us? 30. So she would be able to paint 30 rooms. Now, if you happened to mix these numbers up and you accidentally made the mistake of thinking it was 1/5 divided by 6, your answer here would be 1/30th. And that's where we want to use that number sense and think, would that make sense if a room only takes less than a can of paint, and then you're telling me she has 6 cans of paint and she can only paint 1/30th of a room. So that should give you a good idea of, ooh, that just does not make sense. So I must have flipped my numbers. Okay, so here is our incorrect answer. But that make sure we use our number sense to make sure our answers are making sense. Sarah decides to bottle 1/3 of her milk. She pours the milk evenly among 5 bottles. So let's think about this in 2 ways. Okay, so we could take 1/3 of the milk and we could divide it into 5 bottles. So how much of the milk is going to go in each one? So that would be 1/15. Or we could take the 5 bottles and we could divide it into 1/3, and that would give us 15 of her milk. Now, in this case, 15 of her milk would not make sense when she only has 1/3 of it in the first place. So that's a good way to kind of check and say that for sure does not make sense. Also, we can go back to thinking, what's being split up? Well, the milk is what's being split up. So that has to be my first number in the division problem. So 1/15 is my final answer.